In Lesson 10.1, we're going to continue to look at systems of linear equations in two variables and see what the solution means in real-world problems. So our opening activity, we are told the math club is trying to decide whether to use the blue or the red company for their candy sales fundraiser. The graphs are representing each company's offer, so you can see we have a red one and a blue one, even though on your paper they will not be colored, of course. So it tells us the blue company charges an $11 setup fee and $2 per box of candy. We've talked about over the course of this school year how to tell which of these numbers do we apply our variable to. And remember, it's the one that you're going to be seeing multiple times. And so an $11 setup fee, we know that setup fee is something we pay once and we're done. We're not paying that $11 over and over again. The $2, however, is going to be paid every time we get a box of candy. So this is the repeated number, and so that's the one that we would put the X on when we write our equation. The red company, it tells us, charges a $5 setup fee. Again, that's a one-time fee, and $4 per box. So that's the one we would put our variable attached to. So first of all, it says, how are the $11 and the $2 represented on the graph? And so remember, that came from the blue company. So both the 11 and the 2 will have to do with this blue line. Well, notice first of all that this is the y-axis, and the blue line looks like it might cross at 11. If we counted these little dashes here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, that's exactly what happened. That's the y-intercept of this blue line, that $11 setup fee that we pay one time. The $2 is represented in the slope of the graph. We know slope is rise over run. 2 would be the same thing as 2 over 1. So if we start at the y-intercept and we go up 2 and over 1, do you see we're still on the line? Up 2 over 1, we're still on the line, up 2 over 1. So the 2 is the slope of the line. The red company, let's look at the 5 and 4. Remember, the 5 is a one-time setup fee, and you can see again the red line crosses the y-axis at 5, and the $4 would be the slope. You have to rise 4 and run over 1 to be on the line. Rise 4, run over 1. So notice the red line is steeper because its slope of 4 is bigger than the blue line's slope of 2. So the bigger the slope, the steeper the line. So when the math club is deciding which company that they want to go with, there's a couple of factors that they might want to consider. The most important one is how many boxes of candy do they think they're going to need? And so one of the questions said, when would it not make a difference which company was chosen? And that would be this one point where the two lines intersect, because it's saying for 1, 2, 3 boxes of candy, it costs the same exact for both companies. That's where the point intersects. So this direction on both the blue and the red line is when we sell less than 3 boxes of candy. And so if we're selling less than 3 boxes of candy, do you see the cost of the red line is below the cost of the blue line? So it would be smarter to go with the red company if we're going to need a small number of boxes. But on this part of the graph, now the red line's above the blue line, so it costs more. So it definitely matters how many boxes of candy you're going to sell. Less than 3? Go with the red company. It's cheaper. But if you sell more than 3 or want more than 3, you're going to want the blue company for sure. So we're going to look at some important vocabulary words with solving when we have 2 equations involved, like that situation. So this fills in some blanks on your notes. The 2 equations we just looked at collectively are referred to as a system of equations. One single equation would not be a system. It takes 2 or more. So solving a system of equations involves finding all of the ordered pairs, those points, x, y, that satisfy both equations in the system. So graphically, the solution is the point where the 2 lines cross, or in other words, intersect. So this point where that blue and red line intersect is called the solution. Let's look at our scenario here. It tells us the math club is going to have a Valentine party, and they have narrowed down the choices of candy for the party down to 2 different companies. The Airheads is company 1, and the Sour Patch Kids is company 2. So the first thing we're going to do is write an equation for each one of these companies. Remember, equations must have equal signs. And in our objective today, we learned we're going to be looking at equations that are on slope-intercept form. So remember, slope-intercept form is simply y equals mx plus b. So in company number 1, we can see that there is a $5 shipping fee. Is that something we're going to pay once or over and over? Well, you're just going to pay that one time, right? So the next piece of information says buy each piece for 25 cents. So that means that's what the reoccurring cost is. We're paying 25 cents every piece of candy. So the 25 cents is what we would put our variable on. So this is what our equation would look like for company 1. Y equals the 0.25 is next to the x. That means multiplication. So we're multiplying the 25 cents times however many pieces of candy we get. And then we're adding the $5 shipping fee, but it doesn't have a variable next to it because we're only paying that one time. So in the case of this equation that's in that slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, the y is our cost and the x is the number of pieces of candy we're getting. That's why we're multiplying that by 25 cents. So how would we write the equation for company 2? There is no shipping fee. So where we have this 5 in this equation, we won't have anything added like that on this one. There's no shipping fee. This one says we buy each bag for 75 cents. This is a reoccurring fee. We're paying it every single time we get a bag. So we're going to have to put a variable next to this number. So the way this equation would look would be y equals 0.75x. Again, y is the cost, the total cost, and the x is the number of bags we're buying. So we're multiplying that by 0.75. However many bags we have to multiply by 0.75, and that gives me my total cost. So y is the total cost, x is the number of candies we are getting. So the math club is very popular, and the party planners want to make sure they buy enough candy for the best price. So here's a reminder again that y represents the cost, the total cost, and x represents the number of pieces of candy purchased. So letter A in our note says, which option is best if more than 20 of the cool math kids show up to the party? Well, if more than 20 people show up, that means we're going to need more than 20 pieces of candy. And so the number that's the easiest to use here, that's more than 20, I used 21. So in each one of my equations, I simply replace the x with 21. That's a number more than 20. I could have put 100 there. I could have put 1 million there, right? Any number more than 20. So we're just going to actually do this math. So we're going to put 0.25 times 21 and then add 5 to it. And we'll see the total cost from company 1 would be $10.25. When I put the 21 in for the x in the second company and multiply that by 0.75, I see it costs $15.75. So obviously we want to spend the least amount possible. So which company is better if we have more than 20 students show up to the party? Obviously that would be company 1. So option B says, which company or which option is best if most of the cool math kids are quarantined? We know what that is like, right? And only 5 of them can make it to the party. So instead of replacing the x with 21, we're going to replace the x with 5. So same equations, but I'm putting the 5 in for the x. So if we do the math here, 0.25 times 5, and then add 5, we get $6.25. In company 2, 0.75 times 5 gives me $3.75. Again, since we obviously want to spend the least amount, in this case, company 2 is our better option. So you can see it's not as cut and dry as just saying, oh, this one company is always the best. It depends, right? It depends on how many students we're preparing for as to which company we're going to want to go to because we want the best deal. So let's talk about the solution to the system, and I'm going to show you how to use your graphing calculator in this situation. So again, we've done this many times. We're going to go to the y equals on our graphing calculator, and we're going to put those two equations in here. So remember my first one, we had 0.25 times x, and x is up here next to that green alpha key, plus 5, that $5 shipping fee. I'm going to arrow down to y2 equals and put in my other equation, which was 0.75x, and I have my two equations in, because remember the company 2 did not have a shipping fee. Now we're going to look at finding the solution two different ways. The first way I'm going to do is looking at the table. Table is in blue above graph, so I'm going to press second graph and look in the table. I'm looking for what value of x makes the y values exactly the same. Because remember that y value represents the total cost. So I'm trying to find out when the two companies cost the same thing. So I'm looking at the two different y values, and I'm looking to see when they're the same. So you can see for the first few values of x, the second company is cheaper. These numbers are less than these numbers. And that keeps continuing until we get to 10. At 10, they cost the same thing. Both companies cost 7.5 or $7.50. This is my solution. The ordered pair would be 10 in the x place and 7.5 in the y's place. So as an ordered pair, we would put that in parentheses, 10, 7.5. You can also look at this in the graph itself. So if you press graph, you can see the two different lines. This is the one that had the shipping fee. You see it crosses the y-axis at $5. And this is the one that did not. It crosses at 0. The two lines cross right here. I can ask my calculator what that point is. And so you'll really need to pay attention to this step sequence. We want to go to calc, which is in blue above trace. So we're going to press second calc. The one that we want to calculate is the point of intersection, which is number 5. So you can either hit your down arrow to get to number 5 or just hit the number 5 key on your calculator. Now the calculator is going to ask you 3 questions here. The first question, it says first curve. Just press enter on your calculator. Then it asks second curve. Again, just press enter on your calculator. It's going to ask you to guess where it is. And again, you just press enter. So you're going to press enter 3 times, and then it tells you intersection is the point 10, 7.5. Always make sure it says intersection here before you write this down as your answer. So you had to hit the enter key 3 times. So that is our solution, is 10, 7.5. This is how we would write the solution as an ordered pair in parentheses 10, 7.5. Now, what does the solution tell me? According to the problem, remember the x represented the number of pieces of candy, and the y represents our total cost. So both companies, when you buy 10 pieces of candy, will cost $7.50. That's what it means in this problem. One of the companies is going to be cheaper when you buy less than 10 pieces of candy, and the other company would cost more. And then when you get to more than 10 pieces, they're going to flip-flop. The one that was cheaper is now more expensive, and vice versa. So you have to know how many pieces of candy you need to know which option to go with. All right, so I want you to do your try. I'm going to have you pause your video here, and then you can come back and see if you did this correctly. Okay, in this situation, Desmond wants to run an online ad for his business for 1 week, and he has 2 different options. So the first thing you needed to do is set up your equations. Remember the number that is going to occur more than once, which in this case is the charge per click, has the X on it. The other number, the $8 per week or $6 per week, you're only paying once, so no variable on that. You can put those into your y equals in your calculator and ask for the point of intersection. You should have gotten the point 8, 9.2. So for 8 clicks, they both cost $9.20. Now you can work on assignment 10.1.